GI Combat number 5, written by Peter Tomasi, art by Howard Chaykin. This is the Haunted Tank. I don't know either, but I get a feel for it here. So we open up in the Red Room, which is an unknown area filled with known dangers. There's a tank in there and some ghostly voice saying, "Find him now." And then all of a sudden the tank just disappears in a puff of smoke. So then we go to somewhere else, some sort of farmy town, and a little boy is trying to get the baseball that's rolled under the porch of this man named Jeb Stewart. And the house is all broken down. It looks horrible. But as the kid approaches, he's immediately like, "Nope, I bail." So he just runs off. And then we go inside Jeb's house and we see Jeb, who is shirtless, with an American flag wrapped around his neck, wearing a cowboy hat, holding a saber, saying, "Look out, Krauts, I'm coming to town in my ghost machine." And then we see him standing on a tank, but like made out of parts. Like it's, the way a kid puts together a fort, he put together a tank. So, yeah, then he collapses a little bit. He's like, geez, where did I put my goggles? I'm going to need them if I fight the Krauts. And he knocks over some pictures off his wall, one of which is of his grandson named Scotty. And he's like, I don't want this. I don't want this for you. You're going to be great. You're going to be great in the military, Scotty. Unlike me, you're the one thing I didn't screw up. So then cutting to Michigan on a main highway, the tank's just going. It's just driving down the Michigan highway, crushing cop cars, and everyone's like, what do we do? All of a sudden the feds show up and they're like, okay, this is a black ops situation. No eyes on this at all. We're going to go ahead and we're going to drop some heavy artillery on it. But then the tank disappears in the heavy artillery and they're like, where'd it go? And the tank reappears on top of the helicopter, crashing it down to the ground. So then it takes some side shots, knocks out another helicopter. And as the helicopter lands, some special agents come out of it, full gear, and they all start firing on the tank. Tank doesn't move, and they manage to get up to it and strap it down with some high tensile wires. The tank then takes all of its rivets and blasts them out at high speeds at everybody, and then disappears again. And then they're like, okay, we need to talk to Colonel Trevor. So at this point we cut back to Jeb, who he hears this high-pitched screech noise, and he holds his head and he sees that his ears are bleeding. He's like, I guess someone's looking for me. So we cut to Colonel Trevor, who he's like, I want everything we know about this old man now. And he gets a report, and it turns out he was a World War II vet, I believe, because he says he's 98 years old, so that would fit at least. He does a 4-mile run 4 times a week, and Colonel Trevor recognizes that as a thing that physicians would tell soldiers coming back home to do when they got back. And so he's like, okay, I don't think that Jeb knows this tank. He didn't cause this tank to show up, but the tank's definitely showing up for him. So we got to go get him now. So he goes in there and he's going to bring a couple little extra things if he needs them. So we see Jeb is putting tissues in his ears, trying to mop up the blood. And he's like, everyone in my family, they've always called crazy. The crazy Stewarts, they called us. Well, I'm hoping that my grandson Scotty isn't anything like that. But, I got to feel like there's a reason for it. There's some reason that I have all this going on. And as he's thinking so, the special agents bust in through his roof. And it's like, we know you're here, Stewart. We got a heat signature. And so they started coming after him. And he's just like, well, use the front door, you bastards. He's like, sorry, war's over, Stewart. You can take down your Lego set and your caveman drawings. You're coming with us. And before he can do anything, the tank shows up on his front lawn. It somehow electrocutes the special agents. And then he comes out and he's like, I missed you too, buddy. And we hear the ghostly voice saying, the line of blood must not be broken. Save him. So Jeb goes in and he's like, guess we got an important mission. Guess I'll head out with you now. And they call in a mag slab in order to take care of it, or at least Trevor does. And Jeb's listening on the comms because he picked one up off the agent. He's like, "Oh, you guys aren't going to be securing nothing. I'm out of here. And I don't know what a mag slab is, but thanks for the update." So at that point, he gets in the tank, and we see this jet flying overhead that has what the mag slab is, which is just a magnetic pole, like literally a tractor beam that he uses to lift up the haunted tank. And as Trevor has a shot on Jeb in order to take him out, because obviously he is a threat, Jeb just looks out of the top of the tank, gives a salute, says, "Up yours, Blondie," and then disappears with the tank. And he's gone. So then we get the last page here, which is in Afghanistan. His grandson is being held prisoner. He's about to be executed. He's got a gun to the back of his head. He says, "I'm Sergeant Scott Stewart, United States Army, 8147. And then all of a sudden, the tank appears, knocks out the terrorist, and says, "Hey, your great-grandpa's here, kid. Let's get you home." And that's that. So we got a 98-year-old in a haunted tank who, I guess that the Stewart bloodline has to be able to proceed, and I guess Scott has not had his kid yet, so therefore he must be saved by the haunted tank. It's given a little bit of mystery, while at the same point keeping it light and fun. Like, "Up yours, Blondie," and then just disappearing in a tank. Like, I like that. That's hilarious. So overall, I really do enjoy this issue. It's such a wild concept. Like, I know that Haunted Tank existed before. This was a deep pull, but like, why? Like, what would be the reason to bring it back? That's my thing. Like, you have to have an actual good idea for a story here, and I genuinely do think that they have something interesting going on here with the idea of this tank that's able to do just all this crazy stuff and having to recognize this bloodline of the Stewarts and trying to save that. It's got an interesting concept to it, so I'm definitely intrigued, and of course I'm going to check out how the rest of the Haunted Tank series continues.